Number 10. Tiger, Princess of Madripoor. Tiger isn't technically a queen, she's a princess, but you know, she's the closest that Madripoor has got because they don't really do queens, they just do princes and princesses. She ended up becoming Princess of Madripoor following S.H.I.E.L.D.'s defeat of Viper, Ophelia Sarkisian, who was the ruling monarch prior to her. Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, was the current director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at that time and decided he wanted Viper out and Tiger in, which all went down, I believe, in Iron Man Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Annual. Honestly, Tiger, as far as I know, is just a regular human, although she was prior to this a very powerful crime lord. She doesn't possess superpowers, but she is well liked in Madripoor, very smart, and also very influential, and I really like her, so I just wanted to mention her on this list. She had to face those who would steal her position as ruler of Madripoor afterwards, but would defend it in the end, calling on allies when needed to make sure she stayed in control. The other thing with Jessan Hwan, aka Tiger, is that she has a lot of powerful friends and allies who will come to her defense whenever she needs them, which I think makes her a pretty powerful ruler overall. Number 9. King Aegon. King Aegon was the father of Black Bolt. While we do not know what his own power set was, we do know that he was one of the most brilliant geneticists to have ever lived when it came to the Inhumans, and he was an extremely popular king as well. His brilliant mind is what helped to create an Inhuman as powerful as his son, Black Bolt. While the baby was still developing inside his mother, Queen Rhinda's womb, Aegon came up with an experimental idea to expose his wife and unborn child to the Terrigen Mists before he was even born. This is believed to have helped Black Bolt become what he's believed to be today, one of the most powerful Inhumans to have ever existed. Aegon sadly died with his wife Rhinda during a plot of Maximus's, Black Bolt's brother and Aegon and Rhinda's other son. When Black Bolt attempted to interfere, it caused an escaping Kree spaceship to crash into his parents' quarters, tragically and accidentally killing them. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to show your support for this channel, be sure to head on over to Facebook and click that follow button. Go check us out over there, it really does help the channel here. Number 8. King T'Chaka. King T'Chaka was the father of Black Panther, and also Black Panther himself, before his son T'Challa took up the mantle. While he often isn't depicted as being as progressive or forward-thinking as his son, often seen focusing more on preserving tradition than embracing new ideologies and advancements, T'Chaka was still known for being a great force on the battlefield and politically. He was known as a master strategist in addition to the gifts granted him by the heart-shaped herb, and was more known for utilizing the ancient magics and magical items of Wakanda and its heritage. Number 7. King Namor. Namor is the king of Atlantis, and while a lot of people liken this Marvel anti-hero to DC's Aquaman, the two, for both being aquatic-based characters, probably couldn't be more different from one another. Namor isn't just your average hero, he's more complicated than that. He's fought alongside heroes before and even acted as one himself, but his methods can be a bit severe. And he's also attacked the Earth before, seeking revenge for what World War weapons did to his kingdom and his people, and for the general disrespect and mistreatment of the sea by land dwellers. Honestly, Namor, I'm with you. We gotta stop messing around with oceans and other bodies of water. Not cool, land dwellers, not cool. Namor himself is superpowered and also comes with the power and advancements of Atlantis, and is often known for being a rival and enemy of Wakanda and its current ruler, King T'Challa. Number 6. King T'Challa. Probably one of the most well-known kings in the Marvel Universe, and definitely the one most think of first, is T'Challa, aka Black Panther, the King of Wakanda. Being the King of Wakanda grants Black Panther a ton of power just based on the nation alone, which is known for being super technologically advanced, as well as being filled with a wealth of culture and wisdom passed down through generations. It's a wealthy and powerful nation, and then you can add on top of that the fact that T'Challa himself has power as Black Panther, as well as tons of skill sets and training as a royal, and in addition is a genius himself, known for his brilliance and his smarts. Probably one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe. That gets downplayed a lot, but just saying. Number 5. King Black Bolt. Black Bolt is definitely one of the most powerful kings out there. His power set is one that often gets established as epic, and he is often used in fights against big, often unshakable enemies when it comes to how he's written. He doesn't always win those fights, of course, but more often than not, he manages to either win or at the very least stand his ground pretty firmly. Blackagar Boltagon is king of the Inhumans and of their floating city of Attilan. When he was not yet born, still developing in his mother's womb, he underwent Terrigenesis and would develop epic powers that turned his voice into an extremely effective weapon, allowing him to emit concussive blasts of force simply by uttering a word. Even a whisper can cause a decent amount of damage if aimed correctly. Black Bolt can also use his powers to manipulate matter and even to fly. Number 4. King in Black. On a cosmic level, the King in Black is probably one of the most powerful around. This role was once taken by Null, known as the god of symbiotes, as well as the King in Black. But after he was defeated during the King in Black event, it was Eddie Brock who took up the mantle and responsibilities, ruling over the symbiotes and helping them to find their sense of goodness again, protecting them against the pain and violence of hurting others, and taking them over whenever force was needed so that basically they wouldn't have to experience that trauma themselves. Eddie also is no longer Venom and has passed that mantle down to his son Dylan for now, as he's pretty busy being the King in Black. He may have become physically worn and aged from how draining connecting with the hive mind is, but he also technically has an army of symbiotes that he guides and could easily control, which means that he is pretty powerful on the cosmic level, possibly one of the most powerful kings currently in all of the Marvel Universe. Number 3. Emperor Hulkling. Emperor Hulkling is the current ruler of the Kree-Skrull Alliance, or the Skree as I like to call them, the Skree Alliance. Not only does Emperor Hulkling have superpowers, being half Kree and half Skrull, so that he is extremely strong, durable, and can shapeshift, but he also comes armed with the space sword Excelsior, and even his wedding band, which he and his husband Wiccan both each possess, can be used as a weapon. Yeah, those wedding bands aren't just your average wedding rings, they were actually made from his father Marvel's Negabands, or the remains of his Negabands. Emperor Hulkling also boasts of the forces of both the Skrull and Kree people, so he could mess you up himself, or, you know, just call a few armies to come and mess you up for him if he wanted. And he's also got his husband Wiccan there to protect him and defend him, who could mess you up just by basically speaking words or just magically willing it to happen, so I wouldn't want to mess with Wiccan. I would stay away from Teddy for that reason. I'd be like, I don't want to mess with Billy, so let's just find a peaceful way to move forward. Number 2. Acroyear. He might seem like a random pick to be so high up on this list, but Acroyear, who shares the name of the people he hails from, was once the prince of his people, prophesied on the day of his birth to be their future king. His role was usurped with the help of his evil brother. He defeated Baron Karza but had to sacrifice the world mine of Spartak and ended up being banished for doing something so severe, seen as a traitor by his people. While this meant he would no longer be king, he then set out on a path of redemption and would eventually become the embodiment of the Enigma Force, which I think makes him one of the most powerful former kings, at least, in the Marvel Universe. And just to be clear, Acroyear is actually from the Microverse, which we don't talk about a lot, but it is a thing. It does happen. And you know, we should talk about it. Also, the Enigma Force is super powerful, so that's all I gotta say about that. Number 1. God Emperor Doom. God Emperor Doom has to be one of the most powerful rulers in all of the history of Marvel. Harnessing the powers of Molecule Man, he was able to use his power to warp reality and also save multiple universes by creating a battle world following the disastrous and seemingly unavoidable incursions. Creating Battle World, he combined all the alternate universes of Marvel together to preserve them, with each reality generally having their own realm in his new land, while some others were combined together. Here Doom ruled not just as emperor, but was also worshipped as a deity by his people, who were also made to forget their lives as they were before the creation of Doom's battle world. In the end, Doom ultimately relinquished his power when he was convinced by Reed that he had done the best he could, but that ultimately the multiverse kind of needed to be rebuilt and restored. And Reed was like, I can do that, so like, Look, you did a thing I couldn't do, now let me do the thing that you can't do. Even when Doom was no longer known as God Emperor of Battleworld, he returned to being the ruler of Latveria, and is a powerful villain and sometimes anti-hero who is not only brilliant but also has much magical prowess besides. And is still the ruler of a nation, so hey. Number 10. Lord of the Abyss, God of the Symbiotes. For those who don't know who Null is, this is something you really need to know before you hop into this event, just to understand how epic and powerful of a villain he truly is. Null has a lot of long and extended titles. He's not only known as the Black King or King in Black, but has also been referred to as Cosmic Satan, Destroyer of Gods, the first God of the Abyss, God of the Everblack, Lord of the Abyss, and God of the Symbiotes. He is acknowledged as the creator of the symbiotes and of Clintar. He's also responsible for the experimental process that created the Exelon, a race of parasitic symbiotic entities that ended up bonding with a lost Kree exploration group and transforming them into a new type of being known as the Nameless. The Nameless are beings who are separated from their souls. Some, like Wraith, Zach Dell, gain special abilities as a result of being bonded with the Exelon. It'll be cool to see if the Exelon get to play a role in this event, because I think that would be really awesome. We haven't really seen a lot of the Nameless, so it'd be cool for them to appear.
Number 9. Shuri, Queen of Wakanda. Shuri has wanted to be the first female Black Panther for like ever, and after her brother T'Challa helped her to be able to do just that, and Shuri became Queen of Wakanda and Black Panther, and her brother even refused to fully take back the title upon his recovery. During her rule, she would constantly come into conflict with splinter groups of Wakandans and even into fights with Namor and Atlantis. But it turns out, almost everything was influenced by Dr. Doom, because of course it was. Eventually, her brother would come back to help her out and take over again as king, giving Shuri the opportunity to train under other heroes like Wolverine, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Kazar. After the Phoenix 5 showed up, she helped heroes come to Wakanda for safety before it was attacked by the Phoenix-powered Namor. And then a bit later on, during the incursions, her and her brother would launch attacks on Atlantis, all the while T'Challa and Namor were working together in the Illuminati, a fact that would lead her to oust her brother and take the throne and Black Panther title yet again. But then the multiverse went completely belly up and that all didn't really matter anymore, so.
Number 8. Queen Medusa. Medusa is the Queen of the Inhumans, also sometimes referred to as the Dark Queen and currently known as Commander Medusa in the comics. She is the wife of Inhuman King Blackagar Boltagon, known as Black Bolt for short, and when it comes to his role as a superhero. Just like her husband, she also has a less catchy and longer name when it comes to her actual given Inhuman name. Her name is Medusalith Amekelin Boltagon, with Amekelin or Amekelin being the maiden part of her surname, which is hyphenated with both that given name and Blackagar's name as well, obviously. Medusa is a powerful ruler, possessing enhanced strength, reflexes, and stamina due to her being an Inhuman and a member of Inhuman royalty. Her powers allow her to control her hair psionically. She can basically use her strands of hair to do a variety of things, and also use it offensively to basically bind her opponents in a fight. Her hair isn't just agile though, it's also tensile and quite strong, so not something you'd want to be tied up in. And Medusa also possesses a lot of it, so watch out.
Number 7. Adriana Soria, Spider Queen. In the Spider Island storyline, we get a different kind of queen, a self-titled queen. Adriana Soria is a former US soldier who went a little cuckoo after being intentionally irradiated by nuclear weapons near the end of World War II to try and create a new super soldier. Of course, her and her corps weren't actually told what was going to happen, so yeah, the insanity thing is a bit more understandable. After being the only one to survive the experiment and after breaking out of an asylum, her powers began to manifest. Powers that allowed her to control human beings who have the spider gene, which, luckily for her, she can transfer to people with a mutagenic enzyme that gives people spider powers, connecting them to the web of life and destiny, and eventually turning them into horrid spider monster people things.
Number 6. Empress Brood. Empress Brood for a long time was considered the ruler when it came to the Brood alien race. She was known as the mother of all mothers. Empress Brood was the ruler of the Brood prior to Brew of the X-Men ingesting the Kree-made King Egg and becoming the Brood's new ruler and Brood King. And somewhere in there is also like Queen of the Brood as well, who's I think a different character? Pretty sure. Empress Brood back in the day ruled over all of the Brood, being the master basically of the hive mind, allowing her to decide basically how the Brood will act and what they do. There is also a Queen of the Brood, which is, I believe, like I said, her own character, but in essence is pretty like interchangeable in terms of her role with the Empress. The weird thing is that the Empress has existed for longer, since like the 90s, but really only came up a few times in the comics, first appearing in the 90s in X-Men vs. the Brood, whereas the Queen of the Brood has made more appearances, but hasn't been around as long in terms of the fact that she came out in like 2013 and then I think died in like 2017. In general though, any Brood Queen or Empress is an immensely powerful being to battle against, as they have all the Brood at their command at all times.
Number 5. The White Queen Emma Frost. Emma Grace Frost, the extremely powerful mutant telepath most notoriously known as the White Queen of the Hellfire Club, and occasionally the headmistress of the Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. After leaving her family, she built a financial empire that she is also the queen of in a way, with Frost International. While initially a rival of Professor X and the X-Men, but still being inclined to teach, she ran an academy in Massachusetts that also held younger members of the Hellfire Club. She would go on to co-run the Xavier Academy, and she is currently on the Quiet Council of Krakoa. So yes, she has always held some sway in the mutant community, just like she has always held sway in my heart. She has been referred to as an Omega level telepath with abilities that rival Professor X's own power, with much more offensive capabilities. She also has a second amazing mutation that allows her to change her whole body into an organic diamond form that makes her incredibly durable, super strong, and immune to psionic attacks. Miss Frost has a history that I cannot hope to summarize in this small segment, as it is incredibly long, being first introduced in X-Men 129 in 1979. If I had a comic book crush, it would be this woman. Now I gotta walk away from heartbreak.
Number 4. Skrull Empress Raquel. Well, not as powerful now because she's kinda in prison. At one point, Raquel was an immensely powerful ruler, back when the Skrull had an extensive empire. Raquel is the grandmother to Emperor Hulkling and was the mother of Princess Anal, Teddy's birth mother. He is half Korean, half Skrull, and really only became Emperor of the Kree-Skrull Alliance because of his grandmother's machinations. According to her anyways. While Empress Raquel was believed dead following the destruction of the Skrull homeworld, which was devoured by Galactus I believe, in reality she escaped her doomed fate and hid, disguised as Kree warrior Null the Pursuer. It's unclear actually if there ever really was a Null the Pursuer, at least as we knew her in comics, as Raquel acted as Null for such a long time, putting all the pieces in place so that her grandson might fulfill his destiny. So she may have actually just been Null like since the first time we ever met this person. It's just nuts.
Number 3. Veronka the Skrull Queen. I kind of fail to see how the Illuminati have done any good. They're a group of geniuses, extremely powerful rulers, and team leaders, and the main things they have done have included banishing the Hulk to another world and then giving him a reason to come back and nearly destroyed the planet, sucking at stopping the multiverse from collapsing, and threatened the Skrull Empire, which eventually, being led by Queen Veronka, would in turn secretly invade the Earth with other Skrulls, impersonating tons of heroes a little bit before the events of House of M, and no one knew about it until the events of Civil War. Well, actually, until after the events of Civil War. The Skrull infiltration ritual allowed Veronka, or whatever, however you want to pronounce it, to impersonate Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman so convincingly that Iron Man's technological scans, Charles Xavier's mental scans, Spider-Man's spider sense, Wolverine's animal senses, or any other form of detection could not pick it up. Doctor Strange could not detect her with the spell of Tartashi, nor could the Elder God-powered Scarlet Witch using Xavier's psychic powers. She was obviously an extremely successful leader, and when she was thought to be deceased, the Skrulls lost all form of order. She's insane, she's smart, she's powerful, she's awesome, and kinda scary.
Number 2. Storm, Regent of Sol. Storm isn't just a queen, she is the regent of planet Arakko, formerly known as Mars, and the regent of our solar system, referred to as Sol. Which means I guess every time I go outside and I look up at the sky, I'm like bathing in just like Storm's glory, which makes me feel good.
That's a good way to put it.
Right?
Yeah.
I wish that she actually was in my universe, but in my mind she can just be out in space in my universe, it's fine. She up on Mars looking down at me. Before that though, Storm was also the Queen of Wakanda for a time, ruling by the side of King T'Challa aka Black Panther. Unfortunately, their marriage did not last and the two divorced following the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. Aside from being the former Queen of Wakanda, Storm is also considered to be a goddess, and it is believed she actually becomes more powerful the more people believe in her. This was confirmed in the pages of Black Panther. Storm is the ruling monarch of the mutant planet of Veronka, and she wasn't just given this title, by the way, she actually fought for it, defeating the Nameless, the shapeshifter queen, in order to gain the right to rule.
Number 1. Freya, Queen of Asgard. Freya, or Frigga, is the princess of an ancient group of beings called the Vanir, who would unite with the Aesir under the marriage between Odin Borson and Frigga to become the Asgardians. Now, as Queen of Asgard and mother to like a lot of gods, she is extremely powerful and her history is long. She has all the benefits of an Asgardian physiology and is an extremely accomplished magic user, having traded Loki in his magic, which has earned him a place as the Sorcerer Supreme for an extremely short amount of time. She is mother to Aldrich, who would go on to be the angel Angela, as well as the first Odin son Tyr, and then Balder, whose death would cause Ragnarok, and then obviously she mothered both Thor and Loki, but was not actually their natural mother. She, alongside a group of other goddesses, was responsible for releasing the latent genetic potential in a group of humans, turning them into the young gods to prove that humanity had great potential to the Celestials. She's the All-Mother beside Odin as the All-Father, is an integral character in the Asgardian and Norse mythos, and she is both motherly and powerful. Truly a perfect queen.
Number 10. King Cull. King Cull might not have superpowers, but he was a very influential king who hails from the pre-cataclysmic age, making his very first appearance in, you guessed it, Conan the Barbarian issue number 1. Obviously he's from that whole realm in Marvel's main continuity, and it's important to remember that the iconic Conan the Barbarian character made his comic book debut at Marvel Comics. King Cull was known as the Barbarian King or Warrior King and ruled over Valusia. He was known for being a brilliant fighter and warrior and is thought to have been in peak human condition due to the various adventures he lived through and training often given him throughout his lifetime. Not only that, but Cull was also known for being a good man and for his intellect and philosophical mind. Also defender of the ladies. He was always like, let the ladies do what they want. Let's not throw stones at them and stuff. It's not cool. I like that. I respect that. And yet wasn't really a ladies' man himself. He wasn't like in love with a lot of ladies, which is also fascinating to me. Number 9. Every hero. The awesome thing about this event is that it is so massive. We've been promised that it will affect every single hero in the Marvel verse. Just on what scale though remains to be seen, and we'll have to wait to find out. Still, this just means no matter what you are reading in the Marvel catalog, you'll likely want to keep your finger on the pulse when it comes to the King in Black event, even if you're not planning on taking that deep dive. Granted, if you are planning on taking that deep dive, in my opinion, it's not really a bad thing. Marvel's reading order suggests checking out the last few issues of Venom as part of the prelude to the event, but honestly, Cates' run on Venom is just so good, you might even just want to read the whole thing. Not just for the event, but just as a treat for yourself. And if you haven't read the Absolute Carnage event, you'll probably want to read that too, because it's really good. Number 8. It's all Eddie's fault. But really it is. Eddie Brock was fighting against Dark Carnage during the Absolute Carnage event, which saw Venom team up with a bunch of Spider-Folk, former symbiote hosts, and other random allies like the Maker to help prevent this very thing from coming up, Null being awoken. And yet, here we are. Eddie was faced with a hard choice: let Carnage kill his son Dylan or wake Null himself by saving his son, and he chose the latter, so now here we are. Eddie has also filled the Avengers team in on this, and now as a result of being the one to awaken him, has a direct link with Null and can sense him drawing near, and later will be able to sense his arrival. Number 7. Atlantis Attacks. Null is also appearing in the new Agents of Atlas miniseries Atlantis Attacks. The 5th issue is set to release this week and is also part of the prelude to this event. Null will be reaching out and making his mark in the issue, so it's definitely one you don't want to miss, even if you perhaps haven't read the rest of this miniseries. Agents of Atlas, for those who are unfamiliar, is a fantastic little team and is currently 2 teams actually, the original and the new team, who between them both boast of such members as one of the world's smartest people, Amadeus Cho, as well as Namora, Jimmy Woo, Luna Snow, Arrow, White Fox, Crescent, Venus, Gorilla Man, 3D Man, the Uranian, and the human robot. The previous issue number 4 was released earlier in November. This is also only a 5-part miniseries, so if you wanted to get into it, it's only 5 parts, so it wouldn't take you that long if you did want to read it. Number 6. Mr. E. On our journey to the grand start of this event, we have symbiote Spider-Man, King in Black, issue number 1. In the first few pages, we're reintroduced to a very old and likely somewhat forgotten at this point villain, Mr. E. Here it's revealed that Mr. E is actually a symbiote who is basically acting like a kind of herald for Null years before we even knew really who he was, or that he was a threat. This revelation adds another layer to the character's original main appearance in Marvel Spotlight number 9, retconning their importance without really altering any of their established history. Before we move on to number 7, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. If you love videos like this and want to help support the channel, you can do so by giving this video a thumbs up. Honestly, it helps us a bunch, and we appreciate it when you do. Yay! Number 5. The X-Men get involved. When we say every hero, we really mean it. And we've also learned from an interview with Donnie, who is the lead writer on this event, that he also received some insight and assistance from Jonathan Hickman, who is currently the head of X when it comes to all things mutant right now. So all you X-Men fans out there, whether you want to or not, will also be getting involved in this insane event, as Krakoa will also be pulled into the fray and forced to fight against Null and his Legion. Not only that, but Cates is of course working alongside current Fantastic Four writer Dan Slott and Avengers writer Jason Aaron. It'll be very interesting to see what direction Hickman and Cates take the X-Men and all of Krakoa in when it comes to this massive Marvelverse event. I'm also just so excited about all those guys getting together and being like, what are we gonna do? And Cates is like, this is what I want to do. And then the other writers are like, this is my team and this is what I'm seeing. I just love melding of creative minds. I think it's awesome. Number 4. The plan. We don't know what the plan is yet, but Eddie Brock has confessed to the other heroes that Null is coming, and that he basically awoke the ancient god of symbiotes. So, not so good. It's also suggested in the preview for King in Black issue number 1 that as a result of this news, Earth's heroes have banded together to create a plan. We know the plan from the preview involves evacuating civilians, but the question remains of to where? Where could possibly be considered a safe place once Null arrives on Earth? Some pocket dimensions? Krakoa? Wakanda? And just what exactly are our heroes' plans? We'll have to check out King in Black to figure it out, but I'm betting that it relies on some kind of bait and trap strategy, or some attempt to do that anyways. The very first plan of our favorite Marvel stories usually does not go the way our heroes hoped that it would. So, probably won't work, but you know, it's always good to try. Number 3. Donnie Cates' variant. If you are thinking about heading out to your local comic shop, or are thinking of ordering a copy of the first issue of the event's main series online, or picking up one in person perhaps, there's a certain variant that you might want to check out. If you're a collector, or if you're just a big Donnie Cates fan. Donnie Cates actually has drawn his own variant for the first issue. There's also going to be lots of cool variants for this issue. So many variants. Cates' variant features Null holding the world between his fingers and digging his claw-like appendages into the Earth's crust, which cracks beneath his fingertips. It looks super epic. Kate shared the cover with fans on Twitter, adding in another tweet. This cover is dedicated to all the jerks in art school who said I would never be a good enough artist to draw for Marvel. Well, you were all right, but look at me now, jerks! Because he did get to draw that variant, so that's nice. Also, I don't think his art is that bad. I think it's very stylistic, but I don't think it's bad art, my opinion. Number 2. Kang saves the universe? In Symbiote Spider-Man King in Black issue 1, we also see Kang the Conqueror show up and attempt to download the knowledge from Uada's mind in order to save the universe? At least that's what he claims he's attempting to do. In attempting to download all the knowledge Uada has, all the Watcher has witnessed, he instead allows Uada the opportunity to steal information from his ship's memory banks using his psionic abilities. This allows Uada to glimpse what Kang has seen and warns him of the impending doom heading Earth's way, which also somehow seems to see Uada right back. You also know it's going to be a crazy event when a Watcher looks scared of it. Number 1. Dylan Brock. If you missed it, Eddie has a son now. Yep, his name is Dylan Brock, and what's more important, he might be the key to defeating Null, or at least standing a chance at surviving when Earth comes up against him. In Venom, Eddie and Dylan have been seeking to gain a better understanding of Dylan's powers in connection to Null and the hive mind of the symbiotes. As it stands, Dylan possesses the power to control symbiotes and bend them to his will, a power that up until recently seemed to belong exclusively to Null himself. So it's clear there is some kind of connection there, but we don't really understand it fully just yet. I imagine Dylan himself, as well as his relationship with his dad Eddie and his sort of dad Venom, will have a big role to play in the coming event. And people are probably like, but is Venom actually his dad? Well, Venom was kind of there when that all went down, so Venom is apparently genetically involved in that, which is weird to think about. It's weird. Symbiotes are weird in general, so I don't know what you want from me. Already we are off to such a mesmerizing start to this event. I cannot wait to see where it will take us and just how the Marvelverse will be forever changed by the end of it. Null has been a long time coming in terms of this epicness that we've built him up to be, so I'm pretty excited, and I'm also kind of terrified about his arrival. I'm just shivering with anticipation.